if you've been watching what's happening at the border and thinking, something about this doesn't feel right. If you've heard the word immigration, but never the full story behind it, from detention centers to asylum laws to families being separated, this episode is about what's happening and who it's happening to. Because when people disappear into systems with no voice, that's not policy. That's a pattern. I'm your host, Breezy, with my co-host, Des the Diva, and this is America No Filter.
What's going on, everybody? It's your girl, Breezy, from the America No Filter podcast. I'm here with my co-host,
Des the Diva.
and we have a special guest tonight, Rebecca Alamayu, who is an immigration lawyer. On the heels of the episode with Keys, I remembered that I met Rebecca in LA, and she has been doing the work for a very long time. So we are honored to have you here with us this evening, Rebecca. So thank you for coming and welcome. Des is going to kick us off with a question for Women's History Month.
Yes, definitely. So, ladies, tell me, who is your shero?
I'm sorry, Rebecca.
My shero, I would have to say my mom, because my mom is Ethiopian American. She came to this country. She's uplifts not only me, but our whole family. I was just telling her this other day, I would not know what I would do without her, the way she supports me. Even when sometimes she's like, "Where are you going? What are you doing? Is somebody going to be with you in the car?"
Okay.
She really holds all the virtues that she's taught me, all the characteristics, everything that she's instilled in me. She continues to do it no matter what. And number two, no matter how much I scare her, no matter where I go, she's there. So shout out to my mom. She's a real one. Shout out to her this month.
Shout out to your mom. That's powerful.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
So for me, I don't know. I would probably have to go back to the woman that was probably the most impactful for me. Was my grandmother, my dad's mom, who was no longer with us. But she just embodied the resilience, the strength that most matriarchs, especially Southern, I know I'm from South, so Southern Black matriarchs, she was all of that. You know, she was the rock. She was always steady. She was very warm. I think the warmth that I remember most from childhood would be from her. I mean, the hugs were amazing, you know, all the home cooking and even some of our talks that she would have with me that really surprised me. You know, I played basketball in high school, and I had some trouble because I was in the South trying to play at the same high school that my father went to, which felt like it was still in the 1960s, if we're real. And so I remember my grandmother going out to the backyard with me. They had a farm. So we're on grass, the makeshift hoop in the back. And, you know, I'm shooting out there by myself, and she comes out, and she was just like, you know, I used to play basketball in high school. And I was like, they had high schools when you was a kid, right? Like, I didn't even know. I was so shocked. But I did not expect that from her. And I was like, wow, my goodness. And I mean, you know, she told me not to quit, right? Because everything in that situation, it was very racially motivated. And they were trying to get me to quit. And she was like, you know, all the other Black girls that are watching you, I mean, they're there watching you try out. She was like, I've never seen that. Like, because they're not used to any Black girl even trying. So if you quit, what does that say to them? Right? So she's like, you got to keep going. And everything in me wanted to quit, but I did not. And I'm grateful that I didn't, but it was tough. It was definitely tough. But I feel like I get that from her, you know, and from all the ancestors. So that's me. What about you?
I love that. Mine is my little sister. Like, I had spent my whole life trying to like be somebody she could look up to, and she done got grown, and I look up to her.
Okay.
My little sister is so dope. Like, she's getting ready to graduate college in June, and just
we love that. Black woman with degrees.
Yes, Black woman with degrees. Okay.
But just watching her, like, she works, she goes to school, she's just an all-around positive person. She's my go-to when I need somebody. That's my girl. Like, I love her. So mine is my little sister. I probably am hers and she's mine. But I always tell people, we're 10 years apart, and I always tell people I raised her, and she tells people, and now I'm raising her. That's my baby. I love her.
That is cute.
Forward. Yes. I love that. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. So let's get into it. So we've got some questions for Rebecca. First and foremost, can you tell us a little bit about just your background, what you do, and what a day to day looks like for you as an immigration lawyer?
Yes. Well, my name is Rebecca Alamayu. I am from Los Angeles, California. However, I'm all over right now, mainly between Texas and California. I am I've done a lot since law school. I do a lot of corporate contracts as my regular job, but my passion is doing pro bono immigration and human rights work. I actually came back from working in Africa and as a human rights lawyer, came back to LA, started practicing corporate law and doing corporate contracts. And I'm like, I need something that feeds me, you know? And so I got back in the human rights field by volunteering with a group at the US Mexico border in Tijuana
Uh-huh.
and noticed that there was black people at the border. I went there for one purpose and then noticed there were not only black people, but people from my parents' home country of Ethiopia and Eritrea. And so I got thrust into that work and meeting them, they're like, there's a lot of us here who are asylum seekers waiting to cross the border. And people don't know that because when we think about immigration, we don't think about black faces. We think about Central Americans, we think about Mexicans, we think about people from other countries, but you don't think that there's black migrants waiting at the border to seek
Right.
asylum who've been through so much in their home countries, who are coming here because they want safety, which is in our constitution, which is in our in the codes and human rights law. And it's spelled out that we should be able to seek asylum at the US Mexico borders. They come here for safety. And so when I was in Tijuana volunteering with the popular group there, I noticed that there was Eritreans and Ethiopians there. And they're like, hey, we're here. And they're like, we need help. We don't have no money. At that time it was during the first time Trump was in office and he cut off all the funds for people who are black migrants to even get money from their families. So they were just had nothing. They had nothing to eat. They had nowhere to sleep. They're sleeping on the floors in Tijuana. And so me and another lawyer who were there volunteering basically gave everything in our pockets to them and said, okay, we're gonna go home and figure out what we could do. And that's when we started our first fund to help feed and clothe the people at the border and help them while they wait to seek asylum. Because by law, we should be able to come to the border as asylum seekers and say, hey, I fear going to my home country. I'm here to seek asylum. But at that time, they were stopped from doing that. And so I got into this work from seeing that, and then I got the community involved, and we started this whole big movement. And that's when I first started getting into this type of law. And I didn't go back. From then, I'm like, other races, they take care of each other, but what about our community? Who
Right.
takes care of us? Who's going to stand up for us? There's no lawyer. I was the first lawyer of this skin tone to be at the border to help us. And
Wow.
so after that, then I started working in detention centers because, at that point, there's people going to detention centers who need to be free. So we continued our work from there and there and there and there. So that's kind of how I got into this work, and that's where we are now today.
When your job turns into your purpose,
Yeah.
that's some alignment. And for those people that don't know, can you briefly tell us what the difference is between somebody seeking asylum and then somebody immigrating on just like ordinary or regular purposes? I don't know. Uh,
Yeah. So basically if you're seeking asylum with usually you're fleeing persecution in your home country. A lot of people that we deal with are fleeing persecutions in places like Eritrea or Ethiopia. If you look up Eritrea on you Google, they say that it's worse than the dictator in North Korea. Usually they go through Brazil or Costa Rica. They go through 10, 11 countries, go on top of boats. They go through point to point to point to point to point, boats, trains. They go through this place called the Darien Gap. So if you ever look at the Darien Gap, it's the most dangerous place in the world. And they go through like this mountainous range where you see people that are dead on the ground. I just was with a asylum seeker in detention the other day who said that they carried somebody from a different country on their backs who was dying in the Darien Gap because they see so much on their journey. So just to get to US Mexico border, and let's just say you can't seek asylum in the US. So they usually seek asylum because it's a safe country. This what we're seeing as well is, and big for us here is people that might be undocumented. We have people who have been here since they're 2 years old and 8 months years old who no country but the US. But
right.
then now we're picked up at like I had the other day, picked up at a traffic stop because they had a tail light that wasn't working. The police stopped them and took them to the jail and then realized that they're undocumented and then send them straight to the ICE processing center. So you
Wow.
have people like that. And then when you send them back to their home country, I don't know I don't know this place. Where
Right.
you sending me to, right? And then we also have undocumented people that have been here for maybe 10 years or 5 years or 30 years, or people that just have work permits and they're allowed to stay here, or people that have green cards. And even with green cards, let's say that you came from a place like Ethiopia, maybe you overstayed like a month, and they come to you and say, "Oh yeah, you violated your terms of your green card. Let's go. I don't care if you have 2, 3 kids. I don't care if you've been an upstanding citizen here for 30 years. You have a business. You have a U.S. citizen kid. You have a U.S. citizen wife. Let's go." Right? So
Right.
there's so many different faces of being undocumented and not having papers in this country, and it ranges from being the asylum seeker who just come to this country for a place of freedom to the person that came here when they were 2 years old and nowhere else but here, but got stopped by police at a light because their taillight was out, or the person that's been here who has a green card, or the person that just doesn't have any papers, right? And who's just here paying their taxes, living their life in the US and been under the radar. And because they go to pick up their kid from their elementary school and ICE is sitting out there
Yeah,
waiting for them,
camped out at.
or going to church
Yeah.
to practice their religion in a place that they feel like they can pray to God, and then when they come out, ICE is waiting for them at their car. It's people that are part of the fabric of the US. Your neighbors aren't my neighbors, people that we grew up next to that we didn't even know was undocumented. I went to school with people that are kids who grew up in the US their whole life that didn't even know they are undocumented.
Right. Especially if you came in here as a baby, how would
As a
you even
baby.
know? This is
Yeah,
your
so
whole
there's
life,
so many
right?
faces of this immigration system.
Mm.
And so that's the difference between the asylum seekers and the people that are here that are undocumented.
The journey to get here. I've seen bits and pieces of people's stories, but goodness gracious, I didn't know. Wow, that Darien Gap that you talked about, I'll have to go look it up because I need to know.
Yes, everybody should look at the Darien
Wow.
Gap. If you look at the trek from Brazil to, let's say, the Tijuana, Mexico border,
Man.
and see every country they went through, and then especially that area in the Darien Gap, it's mind-boggling.
So asylum seekers, when they arrive, traditionally, is that process supposed to be pretty smooth?
If you look at the UN Charter, if you look at everything, that is what is supposed to happen. When they would come to U.S. Mexico border, you should be able to seek asylum there, right?
Like,
When you get there, you should be able to say, "I'm seeking asylum because X, Y, and Z." You
right.
actually go through a process to prove that you're persecuted in your home country. It's not
Mhm.
easy. Back in 2018, you know how you go to the meat section at
Ticket.
any grocery store, you
Yeah.
pull out a number, and it's like, "I'm number 18," right? So like back in 2018, they would give maybe 2 or 3 numbers. So maybe 2, 3, sometimes 4 a day, sometimes 0 a day, sometimes 2 a day. Like they would go in slowly, right? Now they've essentially closed off asylum at the border. Yes, it's a process and it should be a legal process.
All right.
Yeah.
What are the most common things that you're seeing that you're having to help people through?
So like I said before, like 2018 was bad, but now it's even in the past week, honestly, there's a judge here in Texas that's like, "This is Texas. There's no bond here. Period." Like I was in a detention center the other day and everybody was denied asylum. Every single person was denied asylum. And then they appeal it, and like somehow, some way, they can't even find the record of their first trial. So it's like we're left with trying to pick up these pieces and trying to figure it out. But overall, it has changed completely. Before, it was easier to try to help people and get them out of detention. Now, not only are we faced with going through this whole process of getting these people out and fighting their cases, but now we have the extra level of this is Texas.
Shen. This is the
So
South.
it's a whole different ball game right now, and
Yeah.
it's so sad. Like I've never experienced anything like that. So before it's been like, "Oh Lord, I can go in, I can fight these cases," but now because a lot of these cases have been adjudicated before I could step in, it's like trying to pick up the pieces and trying to fight against the "this is Texas" mentality. I'm from California. That's not how we operate. We operate on what's just and what's fair.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, you go to places like Lumpkin, Georgia, middle of no sundown town. You go to Texas, it's a completely different ball game. So not only are we stuck with fighting with the immigration system and fighting their cases, and should be the only this should be the only route, like right, proving that they have asylum, or proving that they should be able to stay in this country because they've been here this long, and
Right.
this is what their status is. But now we're faced with the mentality of these judges don't care. So it's, how are we going to combat?
You've seen that. How many detention centers are in Texas?
So in Houston, I think there's 3. There's one big one. There's some in South Texas. They're all over. I don't know how many there are, but they're all over Texas.
So they have a lot. Okay.
Yes. For some reason, I can speak to Ethiopians and Eritreans. We're being sent to Louisiana and Texas a lot. And those are the two places where you get the highest denial rates. And so,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So it's very, very, for some reason, we're being sent there right now.
Mm.
Before, it was like we were in Tacoma, Washington, we were in Aurora, Colorado. A lot of people that were picked up in Minnesota were sent to Texas. And I know there was a project one of my friends was working on, who's an amazing person who's working in Minnesota right now. They were trying to stop when they're being picked up in Minnesota, before they were sent to Texas, they were trying to do habeas corpus briefs and stop it right away before they were sent here, right? Because people are picking Minnesota, the Africans, they're sent here, right? And so what's Minnesota really? It's East Africans. It's the Somali community, it's the Eritrean community, it's the Ethiopian community. It's the biggest community in Minnesota right now, in Minneapolis, that were being picked up. And they were being sent here. Another thing I'm seeing right now is when people are picked up in these communities, they're being sent to county jails.
Rather than the
Yes.
detention centers.
They were sent to county jails at first, yes.
Wow.
Which is also something that I've never seen before. And so it's like I'm glad we spoke this week and not last week, because literally the past 2 weeks this stuff has been out of control. So it's crazy, you know, and it's like it's defeat, because at that point it's like, what do you do when if they deport these people back to their home countries, they might not be alive next week when you call them.
Absolutely.
You're messing with people like Eritrea. If you send them back, they're either going to be imprisoned or they're going to be killed. So it's a completely different ball game. That's why we fight so hard and we try to get people involved, because we have people who are not able to find counsel, because unlike criminal law where you're able to have a public defender, immigration law, you don't get that.
Yeah, we learned
Yeah,
that with
we learned
ease.
that with ease.
So not only do you not get an attorney, but let's say on top of that, you have a language barrier. So you go into the court and they might have a translator there, but Eritrean and Ethiopian Tigrinya is completely different. So let's say you get an Ethiopian translator for Tigrinya, and then you have an Eritrean client, right? At that point, you in court, they're not translating correctly for you. You might not understand all the words.
Right.
And so it's like, you don't have an attorney to fight for you. And maybe the translator is good, right? But maybe you don't understand something because you're also in a fight situation, right? You're sitting there and you don't know that the judge might be asking you questions that you don't understand, and they can't, because of legal terms, they can't translate this correctly. And you don't have an attorney like me to fight for you because they put you in the middle of nowhere, South Louisiana, that no attorneys are in, or South Texas that no attorneys are in. And so it's such a language barrier, one, and then two is access to attorneys. It's unfortunate because we have so many organizations and groups that help the Central Americans and the Mexicans and the people from Turkey and the people from Russia and the people from China, but we don't have people that uphold us. I'm one of the only attorneys that goes to the U.S.-Mexico border. I'm one of the only attorneys that does this type of work in the detention centers. And so that's pro bono, right? Because who can afford to pay somebody $12,000, $10,000, $7,000 when they're coming as asylum seeker, just getting all the money together for their family to get them here? And so there's just not that many people that are like us. And so what I'm trying to do now is uplift the community to be like, hey, look, we need attorneys, we need translators. Who's going to do what, you know?
There's a lot about this that's
and there's a lot too that I can't say yet that we've just learned that we're trying to get people involved, because there's a lot going on right now. And so maybe we can have a part 2 once we expose certain things. Once we expose certain things that we're trying to expose right now, because honestly, that's why on Sunday I was like, I can't. People opened up to me in a certain way on Sunday and I couldn't leave, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
I believe you, because the times that we are in are unlike anything that I've ever experienced before.
And we previously spoke to someone who was in one of the detention centers, so we got a lot of insight there as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that are legally allowed through this immigration process and system that you think would shock people? I know for me, initially, when the Keys was like, yeah, we don't get lawyers, I was like, what?
Yeah, I was stunned.
Huh? Are there any other things that I'm sure there's a lot that we take for granted as people who are citizens that people who are seeking asylum or trying to immigrate to this country don't get? Like, what other things are just...
One thing, I'm going to tell you a story about somebody I visited at one of the detention centers recently, who told me he got picked up, like I said, by a police officer because his headlight was not working, and he was pulled over. He was sent to the local jail, and from then they sent him to ICE. And he's been in the detention center now for 2 months. They didn't send him anything about they didn't send him a paper to say, this is when your date is for your trial. This is when you got to go see a judge. He's just been sitting there with nothing. He's been asking people what's going on with his case. What can I do? Nothing.
I think he's talked about that briefly, that some
Yeah.
people could be held there indefinitely. And I'm like,
Indefinitely.
indefinitely? Like, what,
No.
where, I mean, they just don't have any rights? Like, I'm just trying to understand because it doesn't make sense to me that.
And that's why it's like a lot of people don't have anybody to advocate on that. For me, it's like, okay, what are we doing? Because I know I'm a contact this person, I'm gonna contact this person, I'm gonna contact this person. But imagine somebody who doesn't know anybody, right? And doesn't have the money to pay an attorney to figure it out. And that's
No.
why I'm like, okay, so back in the day, I don't know if you saw the funding was pulled from all these nonprofits, right? But back in the day, there was a lot of these nonprofits that were in the detention centers, right? So Immigrant
Okay.
Justice Campaign, who I've worked with several times, they used to have people everywhere. All Chilado, who is a dear group to me, that's at the U.S.-Mexico border and also at the Otay Mesa Center. I've worked with them. That's the group I was telling you with I first volunteered with when I saw there was Ethiopian Eritreans. Two amazing people. Y'all want to look them up, donate to them. They're an amazing organization. Also Haitian Bridge Alliance, who's also an amazing organization. You know, like they were in different detention centers, but because of the get out mentality from these detention centers, they're not there anymore, right? So you have people who are in these detention centers who don't know what to do
Right.
and don't know what the next steps are. So it's like, people are just sitting there and just trying to figure out, okay, when is my NTA coming? When am I going to see the judge? What's going to happen? Right? And you have people that are guards or ICE officers in the detention center saying, it's time for you to go back to your home country anyways. Like, you're still here? Why are you still here? Get out of here. Why are you still here? Like, go back to your country. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, those are the people you face. So if you don't have that support, if you don't have that ally, how are you really going to be able to fight your case? Like, you
Right.
might be in there for months before they give you your court date. You might be in there for months before you figure out what's going on with your case. And that's one thing for me that it wasn't like that before. And so now times are changing. It's completely different, right?
So
We have people that we see that are in there for 2 years, 3 years, just
what?
detained. We have families who are separated. I know I have one guy who is in detention in one state and his family, his kids and his wife are in another state. And it's like you dealing with the father who's like, my wife and my kids, what I do, you know? Or the mother who is separated from her kids crying, saying, can you please locate my kids and figure where they're at? So like, it's a whole different ballgame, right?
There's a couple of things I was going to ask about. One was going to be, what is their ability to communicate with the outside world? How are they going to get any help if there's nobody to help them? So that was going to be one question. And then he's also talked about how expensive that could be. Like
Yes.
one phone call could be anywhere from $50 to $75. And I'm like, who has that? You're going to exploit people that already don't have anything? That's crazy to me. But then the other question was going to be about families and the separations in these detention centers. Or is it just all women, or is there a section with women, a section with men, a section with kids? Like what does that look like? And you're telling me now they're in separate facilities, maybe not even in the same states with their family members, which is also nuts. Because like, what about the kids?
Yeah. So this one guy I was telling you about, he's been detained for 16 months and he's separated from his wife and his kids. I have another guy who's been detained for 2 years and his wife is detained in another state and they can't speak to each other, only through a lawyer. And then they think about their kids who are back home, that they had to leave with their grandparents because if the parents would stay, they would kill them and their kids. I think people think sometimes just fleeing because, oh, America has the money. These are people who are fleeing their home countries who actually have money in their home countries, who actually don't want to leave their home countries, who actually love their home countries, but are fleeing because if they stay there, they're going to be killed. Or they're going to be imprisoned, or their kids are going to be killed, or their wife is going to be killed. Especially for people who bring their kids, like that quote, like nobody puts their kid on a boat. Like if their home country was safer, I don't like. I've never met a mother or a father who has their kids here in detention who's telling me, oh, I left because I wanted to make money in America.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a misconception. They're fleeing with their kids and going through those 11 countries and going through the Darien Gap where their kids are seeing people dead. I had a kid who was 17 years old who came here with his father and they went through the Darien Gap and his father died in the Darien Gap.
Oh God.
And he made it to the US-Mexico border and we were able to get him asylum. So you think that father brought his kid over here for nothing? You think it's just like, I think people don't really realize that people are not fleeing just because they want They're coming to
Right.
America because it's safer for them, especially people with our skin tone.
Yes.
And so let's talk about Haiti. Right? So I was talking about Haitian Bridge Alliance, which is an amazing organization. Gerline is one of my dearest, closest friends. We've been working at the border together since 2018. They have a group called Haitian Bridge Alliance, and they just fought and won for TPS, for Haitians not to be. They're trying to make it close. They're Haitian, Ethiopians, Somalis, Haitians. They're trying to close all that. Now the Supreme Court's actually going to hear the case.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But with Haitians, you can't go to Haiti right now. Even as a Haitian, you probably know Haitian people. They can't go to Haiti right now.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, think about why the strife and everything happened in Haiti. Who messed up Haiti? And so when there's Haitians coming to this,
that a question?
so when Haitians are coming to this country,
It's always
we can let them in. There's enough room for them.
Woo.
So I don't want to get there. I don't want to go there. This is a different
No,
podcast.
that's not
but
you. I'm just
we
this
we
me.
just
Go
gonna
ahead.
we gonna
Go ahead.
separate them.
I'm
But
with
what
you.
I'm saying is, if we get the bigger picture, they're not fleeing because they just want a better life. They're fleeing
Absolutely.
because they can't stay in their home country, because if they do, these people are gonna be killed or imprisoned. That's it.
You know,
And so
I would say,
heartbreaking.
I'm sorry for
yeah,
cutting
no
you off.
problem.
I think a lot of people don't know this stuff.
Mhm.
Like they don't know the struggle of people in other countries because the American news outlets are very selective about what they put on. They really play the same types of clips all day, every day. And it's
Mhm.
very centered on America and the American experience. So a lot of people in America specifically don't really have a broader worldview because, quite frankly, they don't feel like they have to, right?
Yeah.
Because of the status of America historically being this world leader. I mean, we are a lot different today than we were even 10 years ago. But I think that a lot of Americans are very self-centered. It's about just us, me, I, very individualistic as a culture.
Yes.
And so a lot of people don't have the mindset to even kind of
Yeah.
think outside of themselves. So it's easy to dismiss anybody that's different, anybody that you don't know, because again, they don't know these struggles. They don't hear about things that are happening in Africa, in various countries in Africa, or in Haiti that often. I mean, I've heard a little bit, but not much, right? Like our news is centered around American politics, race, all of those things, but almost never the detriment that's happening in countries that are Black and brown. We don't
Yes.
get that on our news. Now, of course, if you go outside of the traditional sources, you'll get that. But I
Yeah.
think that most people don't. And so there's a lot of ignorance around that, which is one of the
Mhm.
reasons we wanted to have you in. So
Right.
For
I just
sure.
wanted
For
to kind
sure.
of
No,
interject that.
yeah, we turn
They
on the
don't know.
TV and we're like, we don't see our faces. Like, you think immigration, you think asylum seekers, you think Central Americans, you think Mexicans. You don't think about Black children. You don't think about people from different places in Africa. I
Mhm.
think until Minnesota happened, I don't know if you guys saw that clip with the Somali Uber driver who was like,
I
"Oh,
did.
you picking me up?" So it's kind of like, I think that's the first time we're really getting this picture. Because whenever I tell our community, hey, look, we got people here, they need our help, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. We live in a time where we're living off of what we call blissful ignorance. We put on the TV and we're like, so sad. Oh my God, this is so sad. This is so sad. This is so sad. We'll be infuriated for a month or maybe 2 weeks. And then we go back just eating our dinner and living our life.
We're overloaded by all
Yeah.
of the tragedies that
Mhm.
our attention span for the tragedy is only a month or 2 weeks. And then there's the next one because every day there's something else in the news cycle. Every day it's going to be some shit every
Yeah.
day. And so
Period.
you're like, you see this thing and you're like, oh my gosh, that's fucked up.
Yes.
In 24 hours, there's a new fucked up
Yes.
thing. And so
Yes.
people, and I think that's by design. I think that's very intentional.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to kind of strategize and get your footing if you're always kind of off balance by
Yes.
the next wave. Right. And I think that is very intentional, but I understand that's very much how it is. Des and I were talking about what is it going to take for people to get outside of their comfort zone? Because at the end of the day, no matter what's happening outside, most Americans are still comfortable in whatever they have, whether it's a little or a lot. And no matter what's happening outside, it doesn't seem to be enough to make somebody want to get off the couch and do something, right?
Exactly.
We're
Or we're
comfortable
waiting
with
on
trauma.
somebody else.
We're
Exactly.
comfortable with trauma at this point. It's like we're
Ooh,
in
child.
fight or flight
Comfortable with trauma.
constantly.
Yeah.
Period. And that's the thing for me. I'm first generation. A lot of people I grew up with in the church in LA, we're first generation. Some came here themselves from Ethiopia or Eritrea, and we forget so quickly what we went through because we're comfortable here and maybe we have status. We forget how it was when we came here to this country. And it's so sad because it's like, I don't know if it's trauma or if it's just, hey, I'm safe. And so I got to focus on me and my family. But we all know deep down inside, and no matter how far removed we are from it, our ancestors all came here from a certain place. We all came here from a certain place. We know what happened. But even though people are trying to erase, and this is my tangent, and I'm gonna stop after this and give you 2 seconds of it. Even though we're trying to erase now in the books, especially where you are right now and right now,
Yeah.
we're trying to erase what happened back in the day, back in the day in the books. It happened. We all are descendants of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Absolutely.
happening again.
I was about to say it
But
happened.
just in a different way. And
The
so it's like,
patterns are there.
wake up, right? And so one thing that really bothers me is when people say, I'm not into politics.
Ugh.
I'm not into politics. Whatever's going on TV, I just can't do it anymore.
Listen.
And I'm like, do you understand where we're going back to? What our people fought for in the 60s and the 70s to get to where we are right now? Some in the 90s, if we're talking about the South with desegregation
Absolutely.
and some of these high schools, we are
I went
going
to
back to this now.
to one that was very much like I said, it was like going to school in the 60s. It was the same high school my father went to. In the middle of nowhere, the Sticks, Georgia, there was one traffic light in this town.
Yes.
Fine.
And I feel like also between the African community, the Haitian community, and the Black community, they try to divide.
That's
They
also
try to divide us, but
systematic,
we are
right?
all
Mhm.
have the same experience. Even family members of mine. That's one thing. I have family members of mine who have been here since they're younger. My mom has been here since she was 16 years old, who's marched in the civil rights movements. I've had families who, we have that shared conscience. We have that shared experience. We all are one, and they want to divide us by saying, well, because they were born African, they were born in Africa and they were born in the U.S. They're different. We're all the same. We're all been treated since the beginning the same, and our experiences are shared. And that's why I tell people all the time, like, one thing me and my business partners like really hone in on. We like to do a lot of the work with all groups in LA because our shared experiences are the same. We all have the same experiences. And it's just like so far removed. So that's one thing as well. I told you I'm gonna land the plane, like my mom said, I'm gonna land the plane, okay?
I was air traffic control. Come this way, down.
So go on and do what you got to do.
It's on board.
Africa right now,
Where
we
we
gonna
going? I think that I don't know, the system is designed that way. If we are separate and we are fighting each other, then we can't focus on the greater fight that we all share. So if we're focused on how we are different and not how we are the same, then this is only going to continue to get worse. And I think that now is a time, if there was ever a time in our lifetimes to come together, this it.
And turn on the TV. Stop. Don't not pay attention. All of us, no matter what it is, if we're talking about Iran or something happened with reproductive rights, if we're talking about like civil rights, if we're talking about with immigrant rights, if we're talking about LGBTQIA rights, we are going back in time. And some of us have kids, some of us have nieces and nephews. Like I have nieces and nephews where I'm like, what? Like, I just don't understand how people turn off the TV. It's not the time to turn off the TV. It's time to turn on the TV. It's time to realize, yeah, you might not be involved in politics, whatever. It's not a political thing. At this point, it's our lives and our kids' lives and our kids' lives. And what kind of, are we going to go back to the 60s or are we going to continue to go on? And that's why voting, whoever's not voting, I need y'all to go vote. Voting is so important this year. Like these elections are going to shape everything. We've already went back in time because we lost it last time. This time is we can go back up. So vote. Everybody go out and vote, please.
Man, because at this point, if we are going to sit around and think that just whoever's in office right now is going to put a stop to this, I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if they ain't done nothing yet, they ain't gonna do nothing.
For sure.
So it's
For
going
sure,
to
for
take
sure.
us. It
For
has
sure.
to be the people using their voice in a way that is unified.
Yes.
And people have to get involved. And Des and I were talking just yesterday about how a lot of us, especially coming off of the election. We're, obviously very depressed. I was down. I was like, this is
I was in
insane.
tears.
What is
Yeah.
about to happen is going to be absolutely nuts. And
Yes.
I don't want to be on this ride. And it's
Yes.
like, this is fucked up that I got to be on this ride with y'all. This is
Let me
crazy.
off.
Right. And so I think a lot of us kind of pushed back, right? We're resting and I'm down with the rest.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are also like, well, I mean, this is they shit. Like, and it is.
Yeah.
However, we live here. And if you
Yes.
are just going to ignore us,
Yes.
when have they ever?
Yeah.
Facts.
We are always on their mind. I mean, rent free, running around in their head. So, like, just because we may not be in the direct line of fire at the moment,
Yeah.
they're trying to clear the field
To
and
put us
after they
back
get
on
the
it.
ones
Exactly.
in front of us. Yeah,
Period.
Put us back on it.
Clear the whole field.
they trying to clear
Yes.
some
Yes.
folks out
Yes.
the way. And if they get all of the immigrants and migrant workers out of here, who is left?
Who's
Yeah.
next?
We said it
But the
yesterday. He said
descendants
they
of
took your
former
jobs and
enslaved,
right to the
right?
field.
He did say, yeah, they're taking your jobs.
First
No,
place
no,
he
no.
went to the field. He told you then what he was talking about.
What jobs? Yes.
Right, right. So, I mean, I feel like even though a lot of us are kind of like, let y'all do y'all crazy
Yes.
stuff, like I get it. I feel that. But at the same time, we have children that are going to
Yeah.
grow up in whatever world we allow. And so if we do nothing,
Yes.
like then we can't complain about where we end up.
Exactly.
And I'm telling you, I am not built for slavery. I'm not. So
Me
it's like,
either. Send me on the next plane somewhere out of this country. Okay?
Yeah, I
I
won't
will
be doing
be.
it.
Look, it's gonna be a Jet2 holiday. I'm out. Like,
Not just
Yeah.
holiday.
refuse. I think there's a lot of complacency. I think because our ancestors did the sacrifices. I mean, look at this Jamal Bryant calling off the Target boycott, the Montgomery bus boycott, walking everywhere for over a year. And you gonna listen, we can't stick to anything. Now,
Right.
Yeah.
as a collective, we was like, we don't know who you are or why you think you speak for us. We're still on our boycott, right? But it's like we have to be able to stick together for long periods of time. Because if you think this is something that is just going to change overnight,
Yes. It's
it's
not.
not. This is an uphill battle. The destruction that has happened under this regime is going to echo for decades. So it's like, God, this is an uphill battle, y'all. And we got to
It
get
is.
in. Because, like, if you think that whoever's elected is just going to do something because that's right and just, you don't know how politics works. Because if they was going to do something, they would have been did it.
Yeah.
I
Period.
mean, I've seen all the lines be crossed. I've never known a president.
Especially there in Georgia. Georgia's a different place.
Georgia is a different place. Now, Atlanta, that's one thing. And then Georgia, that's two different
Lumpkin,
places.
Georgia. I want you to Google Lumpkin, Georgia. That is
I'll
one
Google
place
it.
that
I
I went
done
to
been
detention
there.
center that I will never go back. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go back if I need to, but I don't ever want to go back.
No, I mean, I lived that.
We had to go eat 45 minutes away from where the detention center was.
Yeah, no.
Out of fear that they were.
My 11th grade year was spent in an area like that. And I remember there were Black kids that didn't know about civil rights leaders. Stuff wasn't really taught there. And I remember somebody wore a Malcolm X shirt, right? And the European Americans, they was hot.
They weren't having it.
They weren't having it. So the next day, they wore a KKK shirt that said the original
Baby.
Boys in the Hood.
Not KKK.
They sure
Baby.
did, sir.
And
What
guess
y'all
what?
do?
The Malcolm X person was sent home to change, but not the KKK
Of
kid.
course not.
That's where I went to high school for a whole year.
Where was this at?
This is in South Georgia, in what was that called? Nahunta, Georgia? Yeah, it's
No, ma'am.
one light. Okay, I mean, my dad told me stories about
Where is that?
you
Is
know,
that like
getting
what
shot
part of-
at just walking home from school. Shotguns, being chased by dogs. This is where my dad grew up.
Mm-mm.
Right. I even remember being in a car driving home and a, blue pickup truck with a Confederate flag and a gun rack in the back. They're waving guns at us.
In
on the
Georgia?
road. Yes.
That's crazy.
South Georgia. So yeah, Waynesville, Brunswick, Nahunta, that whole area. And I was in 11th grade. So I was living through the 60s, but in the 90s. It was crazy. I felt like I went
But
back.
that's where they had the desegregation, right? That was like all that Louisiana and Georgia, like with the school. That's what I'm saying. It just happened in the 90s. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I mean, there was a school, it was an all-Black school too, which I thought was amazing. The school's name was Jeff Davis High School. What do you mean Confederate President Jefferson Davis? See what I'm saying? So that's the part of the world I spent my summers growing up. So yeah, I know how it be.
I'm thankful for being brought up in LA, but I see it
Yeah.
now, okay?
Listen, my dad was military, so I grew up all over the
I'm like,
world.
but I see it, and I go to these places like Dilley, Texas, where my mom is like,
Oh my gosh, that
not drive?
is
Can
on the
you
news.
not drive by yourself? Can you drive with somebody else? Preferably
Yeah.
For safety.
you know, because it's like, yeah, so
Yeah, because sundown towns are a real thing. Like
Yeah.
some
especially
people
in
just found
Georgia.
out about them over the last year or two, but
Yeah.
they have always been a part of the fabric of this country.
Mhm.
So it's Dilly, like I said, has been in the news quite a bit.
Yeah. So I actually started going there in 2018. That's the first time I went there. There was a group out there in the Immigrant Justice Campaign had a group out there working at the Dilley Detention Center, and they're taking volunteers. They're taking lawyers and translators to volunteer with them. I signed up. They approved me on my birthday week thinking I wouldn't come, and guess what I did? I went. And that was honestly the most life-changing experience for me. After that, I was like, there's no way I cannot come back here. Walking into that center, when I tell you, me and this other lawyer had to walk out because we're crying. Dilly just
Right.
opened back up recently, but they started back in the day with Trump, and these kids were just all sick in the waiting
Well, that's
room,
what's happening now too.
Yeah.
all sick in the waiting room. They're giving kids with asthma Tylenol. They're
Yeah,
they're like they're just blank stares, all sick. And I remember walking in there and then meeting with my first kid, and he was just crying, crying. And my translator was trying to play with his tie. He had like little bears on his tie. He's trying to make the kid laugh, and the kid has his head down like this, and he was like looking up. He got small. He started crying. He's like, I don't want to be like the dead people. Don't send me back to the dead people. It's an 8-year-old, an
I was gonna
8-year-old
ask you how old
in
this
the detention
child
center.
was.
I don't want to be like the dead people. Boo-hoo, crying. And when I tell you that broke me and my translator, like, I can usually hold it together. I had to get up and leave. I've cuddled with 6-year-olds in detention centers. I've held an 8-month-old baby in a detention center. This is our country right now. It's not just adults.
No,
Majority of
and
people who
that's
work with our
insane.
kids. These
How
are
are
child
these
soldiers,
babies?
people that were who were
Like,
made child soldiers.
Who's caring for the
they're
baby?
losing kids.
Each other, to be honest. I mean, the detention center, this one it's a family detention center. The mom was here, mom was there, but let's be honest, who's really caring for the babies? Each
Like,
other.
that's crazy.
And if
That
you look it up, you'll see like
I
all
mean,
of this.
this is 2.0, right? Because he did the kids in cages thing before and the family separation. And how long did that take to undo
Yeah.
that mess? And now we're right back in it. Which is,
If you go on my page, you'll see one of the kids, he's 9 years old, how long he's been in there and just wants to get out.
like they're kids.
And
They're
what's happening
kids.
now is a lot of these people who came here to seek asylum, who were let out like during Biden with ankle monitors, when they go to their check-in,
I'm sorry.
With an ankle monitor.
also when they were let out. So basically what happens is when you come here to seek asylum, right? You come to the border, then you go onto like a small detention, like say you come through Tijuana, you go to San Diego, you're held there from like 5 to 12 days. And from there, you go to a detention center anywhere across the U.S. When you get to that detention center, you have to pass what's called a credible fear interview. So you pass that credible fear interview saying, I have credible fear if I go back to my home country, this and this is going to happen to me. Right? It's a lower bar than the actual asylum. Once you pass that credible fear interview, then you get you have your date for your hearing. So then you have a master calendar hearing, you have asylum hearing. So from that credible fear interview, you're just waiting, right? So your hearing is going to happen. So you're just stuck there. You're sitting there. You're sitting there to prove your case, no matter how old you are. You're sitting there to prove your case. So you're waiting for your hearing date to come up. But what we're seeing now is a lot of people, especially in Texas, they just automatically denied. You hear these cases and you're like, this is a slam dunk asylum case.
Right,
It's
a no-brainer.
denied in this. So now I'm seeing people who are denied. Like, what do we do? Can we appeal? Slam dunk cases who would win from
anywhere else.
Any asylum judge that I've ever seen before now in the past couple of weeks just being denied out of nowhere. I'm going in and looking at these cases like, can we appeal? Can we do this? Can we do that? And that was my weekend, like last weekend, all day, just trying to figure out what we could do with these cases. So asylum has changed dramatically. It's changed dramatically.
See, I mean, kids, that really bothers me. It all bothers me, but.
And they're not even supposed to hold kids for a long time. If you look at the
that's
laws
what I'm
behind
like.
If you
Kids
look
are
up the
crazy.
look up the laws behind that and see how long they're supposed to be holding
Well,
kids, and then look at what's happening now.
America has a lot of policies that negatively impact people, not just here, but around the world. So America has a bad habit of creating the enemies that they fear. Because when I tell you, you make people hate this place when you
Yeah.
treat them like this. Like, that's
Yeah,
crazy. I mean,
exactly.
when you do things like what happened in Iran, back in the day, and that's why they're pissed off in the first place, and they're prepared for a moment like this. They've been waiting for a moment like
Baby.
Yes.
like,
Anyway,
but y'all created that.
We're
You
creating asylum seekers right now.
terrorism, but it's
We're
like the
creating asylum
true
seekers in Iran.
yeah.
exactly. You're literally doing it. You are creating the enemies you fear. Like ISIS came out of all of the damage you already caused in that region of the
Okay.
world. They grew up hating you because of how you did their parents and grandparents. And a lot of them don't have families anymore because America blew them up. So it's
Wow.
like, if you didn't come there, they would never be that. They are the way they are because of your interference, because
Yeah.
of your help, because of your wanting to free them from tyranny, only to subject them to tyranny from America. But anyway, that's neither here nor there at this point. It's just crazy to me. The math don't math.
Math ain't math.
It really is not at all. Like, you are literally causing the fear. But like, you literally made the boogeyman and then was like, what, you didn't have to do that. You
Yeah.
could have just left people alone. But that's one of the things that America doesn't do very well.
Baby, we in everybody but our own business.
Because we got all the stuff we got going on here, and we are in everybody else's everything.
We across the desert right now. We have issues here.
I mean, a whole lot. But anyway, the goal is distraction. So
Yeah.
we
From
definitely
everything that's going on right now.
quite a lot of that, man. Quite a lot. It's crazy. Well, Des, you have anything else you want to add, or
Yeah, can you just share with just the everyday average person, what are some things that we can do to help? How can we get involved?
So right now we're getting so many cases, unfortunately, which have reached the deportation level. It's a it's a different time. Let me be honest with you. If you asked me last week, my ask would be completely different than this week. After going into where I went to this last weekend, it's hard. And it's about to get worse and worse and worse. And I've never seen it get to this point. There's a lot of people who need pro bono attorneys. That we need attorneys, we need translators, we need volunteers who will help make copies and get these papers together so we can do emergency orders and emergency habeas corpus briefs and all that to stop the deportations of people. There also need funding. So we're funding for people that do judges who will take bond to get these people out, right? So the person that's lived their whole life who gets stopped on the street, who needs bond money to get out so they're the primary breadwinner. So then they have family at home. So we started a fund to help those people. So we started a fund to help people get out on bond. We started a fund also because usually it's a primary breadwinner who gets picked up at work or gets picked up on the street. And then you're left with your wife and your kids who your wife doesn't go to work, or maybe you don't have a husband or wife, it's just one of you guys. You have kids and you have a grandma, and now you're in prison, so they don't have help. So we also, not only for the bonds, but we created a system to help pay for rent, utilities, groceries, Pampers, diapers, stuff like that as well. So honestly, there's so many ways you can help. You can help if you're an attorney. We need help. We need more attorneys. We need more attorneys. There's not that many of us that are doing this right now. I've tapped into all my friends. I have a good group of attorney friends who help me with this case, but it's not consistent. So we need consistent attorneys who can help us. We also need translators. If you speak a different language, help us. If you just want to help make copies or come and like help type up something, like we need volunteers. And also, if you can spread the word about our fund, we need help with our bond fund. And not just our fund. There's so many funds out there. Like whatever you're in, if whatever feels close to your heart, not even just with this issue, get involved in any issue, right? There's so many other things going on in this world. There's so many other people in your local community. You might have somebody who was picked up by ICE and they're not even connected to us, but somebody who needs help, and you see a random GoFundMe of somebody in your community who's trapped by ICE, go on the GoFundMes, look them up, help your community. Get involved in your local, ACLUs and different organizations who need help. This is much bigger than just us and the places we go to, right? So
absolutely.
like whoever you can help, go help them. This is a bad time right now. So just get involved. Help where you can help. Look up how you can get involved. Call your local congressional members,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
put your foot on their necks. Like,
Absolutely.
they are there to help their constituents. Your constituents are getting locked up. And
Yeah.
so advocate for them. Call your local members of Congress. Tell them we need to stop this. If you Google how to help with what's going on in immigration, what to do with your congressional members, you can get the number, the hotline, and get
Right.
exactly a blueprint of what to say to them.
Right.
Call them.
Call your representative and
Call your representatives. Donate. Raise your voices. Volunteer. Look up what's going on in your community. Get involved. Your local representatives, your city council members, and go out and vote.
yes.
Don't just think your vote doesn't matter. Not just for the big votes, not represented
The
city council,
midterm.
assembly members, and city
Man, and your
councils.
local
Those are
government.
very, very,
Absolutely.
very important as well. So
Yeah.
go out and vote. This is coming up. You know,
Listen.
it's coming up. So go out and vote.
Absolutely. And if you were one of the ones that fumbled 3 times,
Yes,
now's your
yes.
chance to get it right.
Okay, realistically, and I'll say it, they didn't fumble 3 times. The man cheated. And he cheated, and he cheated, and he cheated.
Well,
and he
hey,
cheated.
I ain't look, no lies detected, but also they made some really poor decisions on
Yes.
multiple
Yes.
occasions.
Very true.
They actually
Yeah.
had Vaseline running around the house, and the other one had the match.
We
So
just need to make sure that
they're
this
not
time we don't
faultless.
allow him to cheat.
Okay, I'm gonna put the
Which is why
blame
we need to be
squarely
on
the
our
shoulder.
Congress people's, our local legislators' neck so they can understand we're not playing with you. You're not going to let him cheat this time. We need to be on top of it.
Because the fix is already in. They are planning to make it hard to vote. They are planning to disenfranchise. They are planning to have ICE potentially at poll locations. They don't want you to vote. So if you can vote early, do that. If you can
Oh, and there's
vote
actually a place in
after
Georgia, and they're
that.
trying to build a new detention center, a big
Yeah.
like warehouse in Georgia. You saw that where they cut off
Yeah,
the
and they cut off
water
the
supply
sewage,
and everything.
the water, all of that. They was like, "You not telling us what you're
Go
doing in
ahead,
here.
Georgia. I see
You
you,
don't have
Georgia.
electricity. You don't have water. You do not
Yes.
have sewage. So good luck."
Good.
Period.
I said, "Okay." In red Georgia, okay? So people are getting tired of this bullshit, and it's about time. I mean, it's really been going on a really long time, but you know, being woke was negative, and now people
Yes.
are waking the fuck up. Hey,
Raise
welcome.
your voices. There's if you
Welcome.
saw the 2 people that died in Minnesota, if things are happening like that outside of the detention centers in front of everybody's faces, imagine
Imagine.
if
Come on, what's going on in there? The abuses. I'm hearing
Yeah.
some stuff. It's unconfirmed, so I don't really want to get into it. But I
and
saw
there's
some
stuff and there's
that
stuff we'll share soon, but
little,
we just not
yeah,
sharing right now.
young girls ending up pregnant in
Pregnant.
detention. What's going on?
I've been researching on that today, too.
I got to get into that a little bit more, but I saw that pass my
Um,
timeline today, so I got to dig into that. But anyway, I can imagine the atrocities. I
Mhm.
can imagine. So, thank you so much, Rebecca, for
Yes.
your
Thank
time
y'all. Thank you guys
and
for
for
having me.
coming and talking
I
with
really
us. And
appreciate y'all. And
yeah,
honestly, thank you guys. Like for you guys to create a platform for us to be able to share our stories and the voices of those that are unheard. I really thank
absolutely.
y'all. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Yes. Thank you.
Until next time,
For
we got to
sure.
keep telling the truth, baby.
Thank you.
This American No Filter, we out.